So I was one of those people that bought the day before on launch day. Yeah, the day before that promised MMO zombie survival catastrophe of a video game that has recently. I just read some news today that it's closing down actually after what it's barely a week, I believe, that the game's been out. It's barely been 7 days, and it seems like the developer, Fantastic, is going out of business. And it's funny because like I've been suspicious about this game for like maybe the last year and a half. Like me and a buddy of mine, we're always talking, sharing news about it, and we're thinking like some shit's going on, right? When we were hearing about the copyright infringement thing and the game getting delisted on Steam, and then later on, I found out that they were, almost like they were copying popular trailers from like other successful franchises like GTA and what else? I think like The Last of Us, if I'm not mistaken, was one of them. It was quite a few games. The Division, I think, if I'm not mistaken. There were a lot of shady, suspicious dealings going on, and it's funny because like ultimately I ended up returning the game. Right, I got my refund, full refund. I bought two copies, one for me and a friend, and it's weird because it's almost like as highly suspicious as I was of this video game, I still said fuck it and dropped like 80 something dollars on it, after taxes for two copies. And I remember thinking like I wasn't even thinking about a refund. I'm going to be completely honest with you, like cuz I've never refunded a game before on Steam. These two copies of the day before are the first games ever and since I started PC gaming like in 2016 that I've returned any game. And I've got a shitload of games in my library, my catalog that I've played like once for 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour and never played again. And I've never returned those. So like now you would think that that's a testament to like how shitty this game is, right? And shitty seems mean, maybe because I'm just a little more lenient than a lot of. As a matter of fact, I'm a lot more lenient than the majority of the people, the players who ended up buying this game and getting refunds, or just ended up keeping it in hopes that it'll turn into something better. Because that was the camp I originally was in. I was gonna be team. I'm gonna keep it. Looks like they got something that has potential here, and they're gonna just let it. They should let it bake for a while in the oven, and then eventually it'll come out as a something remotely close to a finished product. And I realized that, like, obviously today that that's not happening, right? Because the studio's closing down, and for right now, as of what are we in? The 11th of December, 2023. We are they're the servers are still ongoing, but that's not going to be for too much longer because, like I said, the studio announced today, I believe, that they're going out of business. Basically, it's like they're going to shut down the game, and rightfully so because that game was in barely playable state. And and I understand that it's early access, and you would have to be extremely lenient to consider it a playable video game. It was more like it felt more like just a rough demo. Like it's like, they should have worked on this much longer. And I understand that's a little harder to do when you've got investors that, want some returns and profits and the money they invested as well as, deadlines and people mouths to feed. So, you want to get this out as quick as possible. And unfortunately, it really felt more like a I can't say a tech demo, but it felt like a demo of a very unpolished game that they should have definitely spent way more time letting bake before they even released it in early access, which says a lot, right? Because usually games that come out on early access are games that are not really, you know, fully developed, limited features, graphical glitches, all sorts of shit. But this, was something else. Like, what's wild is that, like I said earlier, I ended up. You would think that because this was the first game I ever got my returns for. I ever got my refund for. I got my money back. Like you would think that, oh wow, this game is so bad that it made someone who've never refunded a game before actually refund a game. But that's not even the case. I know I'm in the minority, like a tiny sliver of the population that actually returned the game, not because I thought it was a piece of shit, not because of that, but I returned the game because it was a PvP game, and I was looking for a PvE zombie survival MMO, like they promised. So one of my friends told me, say, "Hey man, you got scammed," and I'm like, "Yeah, I guess you could say that." I didn't feel like I got scammed because I wasn't blindsided at all. Like I knew damn well what I was walking into. I knew this shit was highly suspicious, and I knew that if I took a gamble on this game, I most likely was gonna lose. But I just got paid. I had a couple dollars in my pocket, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's throw a gamble on the off chance, right? I'm gonna buy this game and a copy for a friend. That's how cocky I got, right? That I was like, let's just buy myself a copy and a copy for a friend on the off chance that this game might actually be okay. I was never expecting this game to be good, and I'm being completely honest. There was not one moment where I was like, this game's gonna be great, but I thought it was gonna be at least good. Like good enough. Sorry, that's I should be more. I should clarify. I was expecting this game to be maybe a 6 out of 10, and ended up being like a 4. So like, my expectations were already low coming in. So like I can't say that I got scammed because I would say I got bait and switched. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Definitely. You can say that, Scam loosely. You can be like, yeah, I got scammed. Sure. That doesn't I don't feel like that word applies to my situation. I feel like bait and switched got like, that applies to me. Like they promised me something and pulled the rug under my feet. Gave me something that was completely different. Now, a counter to that would be like, well, that is scamming, Danny. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, I guess so. You know what I mean? I guess that is scamming, but I believe the textbook definition of scamming is more like you didn't receive what you paid for, right? But like literally receive. Like if the developers, which are the name of the developers in this case for the day before is Fantastic, and I believe the publisher was like Mytona or something like that. Now, if Mytona and Fantastic would have not delivered a game at all, like no game whatsoever, and they took my money, then that's to me that's scam. That word fits aptly. I believe I used that word correctly. Uh, if I never received a game at all, now that's the textbook definition of scammed in my world. So that's why in my case, people can argue and say like, yeah, well, you didn't get what you paid for, even though you got a product, some sort of a digital product. It's not what you paid for, so you got scammed. Sure, fine. I can't argue with that too much, although I don't believe in that. But the bait and switch thing is a real thing. Letting. That's what ended up leading me to get a refund for this game, and it being my first refund ever in Steam. I wanted to play a PvE game because the game that I got, believe it or not, like right off the bat, I noticed many things wrong with it, right? Like the robotic monotone dialogue and voice acting, right? I was like, oh Lord. At first, I was like, you know what? I kind of forgave it because I was like, these developers and they're probably like foreign, at least to us Americans. Like I was thinking, like they were maybe either, excuse me, like some sort of European or maybe Asian. And I was thinking like, okay, well maybe English isn't their first language, and they kind of got like a mid-tier localization company or something like that to help with the English translation. So it felt off. It felt, I don't know. It just felt like lifeless. The delivery and the monotoneness of the monotoneness. You hear that? It's not a word. The monotone delivery of the speeches and the dialogue in the game, it just felt like, oh man, there's something off about this. It's not good. It's not great quality. Whatever. That was a small problem compared to when I continued to play the game, right? Like the emptiness of the world. Like I probably saw no bullshit, maybe 3 or 4 zombies in like the 3 hours that I've totally spent playing and watching this game. I personally played the game for roughly an hour before I stopped. My friend that I bought the copy for played the game for about 2 hours. So altogether, I experienced the game 1 hour playing, 2 hours of watching, and I think that pretty much gave me a solid opinion. And once again, maybe this is me being lenient, but I didn't feel like the game was the worst game I've ever played. Was it a good game? No. Was it a playable game? Barely. That's the biggest one of the biggest problems that I had with it. It's just like, bro, you had a lot of time. You know, they said they spent about 5 years. It doesn't. They said they spent about 5 years developing this game. They said blood, sweat, and tears went into it. That's a little dramatic. Whatever. Point is that in 5 years, I know nothing about video game development. So, 5 years with a video game, depending on what type of video game it is, I'm sure if it's like a AAA title, 5 years is it's a nice dent, isn't it? It has to be, right? Like, you may not be able to finish a game in 5 years if you have like a AAA budget, or maybe so. Like I said, once again, I have no idea, but I feel like 5 years is a pretty substantial amount of time, and even more substantial if you're a indie company, So 5 years is nothing to laugh at. It's nothing to snark at, like when it comes to having development time. So for them to release this fucking terrible demo, it was like, whoa, like this is not even good for early access standards. So I mean, listen, there's nothing that I'm saying that's revolutionary about this video game whatsoever. Like I'm sure there's plenty of other people, YouTubers or any type of entertainers or whoever ended up buying this game or at least covering it. They could put it way more eloquently than I can and also get into much more detail on its history because it's had a checkered, shady history. The development of this game and this company, like it has not been good, man. And that's why when this game was close to being released, everyone held their breath, including me, the person who fucking ended up buying 2 copies of it. Like I went in there and I was just like, I know this is probably not gonna go well, and I still did it. But I wasn't even like I said earlier. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I was gonna buy this game with no intentions of returning it because I've never returned games before. So I was gonna be like a sucker. You know what I mean? But at least I can say that I didn't get blindsided because I definitely had low expectations coming in. Um, can you say I fell for the hype? Um, a little, yeah, I kind of did. I wouldn't say that I got excited because I wouldn't allow myself to get excited, but the idea of an open world MMO survival shooter was fucking dope. It's fresh to me. Maybe there's something else that's similar to there to what I've just said. Um, so far, like to me personally, the king of zombie games that I've played so far would be Project Zomboid and 7 Days to Die. I feel like both of those games are the best zombie games I've ever played personally. And you've got some runner ups, you've got Dying Light, for me personally, and then what's the other one? I like State of Decay. 1 and 2 are pretty dope. There's a lot of zombie games that are pretty cool. But I feel like 7 Days to Die and Project Zomboid are the kings. Like I've had so much fun playing both of those games. But whatever, it'll be cool to have a MMO that was like that, and especially survival. There's something about managing your thirst, your hunger, and like your injuries, and I don't know, that just makes the game way more immersive for me because these are things that I have to worry about, and for other people it's a nuisance, especially those who want a more fast-paced shooter or arcadey type game. They're like, I don't want to fucking worry about food, and but I do. I just feel like it gives it a touch of realism that I fucking love in games, and I wish more games did this, especially games that are so food heavy, right? Like for example, Starfield, right? There's fucking food everywhere. Not only is there food everywhere in this game, right? It is so highly detailed, right? Like you look at some of this food, it looks almost photorealistic, and you're like, wow, they spent so much time photographing food and literally sprinkling it everywhere, oversaturating the entire game. You can find food everywhere in Starfield, right? Full blown cooked platters, snacks, drinks, coffee, all sorts of shit, right? But there is no thirst meter. There is no hunger meter. And I'm like, that's pretty crazy. I feel like there should have at least been an option to turn that on. You know what I mean? Like that cool mod that they did for Skyrim. That was like, I remember playing that for a bit, and it gave Skyrim a whole new different like dimension. Like it didn't feel like Skyrim, but I remember it being ridiculously hard. But maybe I should go back and play that. I can't play Skyrim. Stop, Dan, stop. You've already fucking finished this game like 7 times. Stop, Danny. Whatever. I will say that this isn't the first game that I heard bomb monumentally, right? This game bombed so bad it left ripples throughout the whole PC gaming world, and thank God it was just the PC gaming world because they did have plans to release this on consoles, from what I heard. Jeez, imagine the uproar there, where like consoles, they have consoles, PlayStations and Xboxes, they have like a way more of a fan base than PC. I believe console gaming is the most popular gaming in America, and then mobile gaming is the most popular gaming in the world. I those are I haven't checked the stats recently, but I remember those were the stats when I last checked. But I wrote a little list here, right, of games that like ended up being just critically panned, but I either ended up liking or I gave a shot and I didn't think it was that bad. And Icarus, which I'm replaying now with some friends, right? Just to get a taste of it. So far, it's been an uneven experience. The optimization is fucking terrible, man. This game, I remember it running like crap back then, and it's running probably even worse now, or just about the same. I didn't see no improvement. I can't believe how bad, like optimized, like how badly optimized this game is. Icarus, the survival crafting game. That would be my biggest complaint, and also the combat is a little like rudimentary. It's very primitive. Is not even the combat animations are pretty like like they're lacking, for a game that you rely a lot on combat. There's just there's straight combat missions where you have to go and exterminate or hunt specific creatures, coyotes and shit like that. Also, some humanoid enemies would be pretty cool too. I don't know if then there's a new update that came out called New Frontiers. Maybe you fight some humanoid characters there. I don't know. Whatever. Those are my grievances with Icarus. Other than that, there's an awesome game there, right? Like everyone can see the potential in Icarus, right? And I remember when it came out, it was like mixed to negative reviews, and now it's pretty positive. And I'm like, good, because I do believe there's way more positive than negative in Icarus. Although there are some big glaring issues, like get that optimization in order, y'all. Like Rocketworks, I believe, is the developers of this game. What else? Cyberpunk 2077, right? That's another one that came out to like crazy negative reviews, and everyone, well, at least the console versions did, and also the business practices of them, because that to me, the business practices of them knowing that the console versions were not in a playable state, but still releasing them anyway to maximize profits. That's my biggest gripe with that whole controversy of Cyberpunk 2077. All right, because when I played the game, I fucking loved it. It was a 9 out of 10. I remember starting this game at like 11:30 at night and then staying up to like 5:30 in the morning, just straight playing. I know that sounds like rookie numbers to some of you guys, but cut me a break here. Point is, there's not a lot of games in my recent memory that I actually like wanted to just continue playing for like no life in it, basically, as the young kids say. But bad criticism, bad negative reviews, getting slammed all over YouTube by influencers and you know, just just a general uproar. And then I ended up playing it, and just like Icarus, ended up liking it and going like, okay, this is one of those cases where I felt like they went overboard in the criticisms, and which is ironic because now, and not even now, because the new Phantom Liberty DLC, it's wild. The same publications that trash it are the same publications that literally gave it a 10 out of 10, right? So full circle or full 180, I don't know. Point is that like it's funny how that, how fickle us video gamers are. And I will always say this, right? And this is a subjective view, obviously, but like I feel like video gamers are the most fickle, like highly critical group that I know. Like out of like movie buffs that I know, people in different fields of entertainment, like different little genres of entertainment and music. I believe video gamers are the most critical. They're like, man, like you cannot have anything wrong. They're almost creative in their ability to spin something in a negative way. And sadly, social media just adds fuel to the fire, right? Because it's very easy to, air out your grievances sometimes to the point where it's like, bro, it's not that big of a deal. I've read so many comments, and like 90% of the time that's my reaction. It's like, bro, relax. Like it's not that big of a deal. Like, but everyone's different. some people genuinely have concerns, and they believe that if they pay for a product, they should at least get some semblance of it, of what was promised. And hey, man, that's also the day before, right? That's why I'm here talking about it. What are we doing here? How long have I been talking, man? Oh shit, I talk too much. Outriders and Godfall. I'm gonna lump both of those together. Those are two games that were got also negative reviews. One for being too short, the other one for not having gameplay mechanics that were necessarily decent and not really original, kind of bland. I like both of those games. I was gonna say love. That's way too strong of a word, but I played Outriders with a friend, and we finished the entire campaign, unlocked so many like legendary guns and all this cool shit. Same thing with Godfall. Godfall was short as hell. That was my biggest complaint, right? It looked beautiful, and the gameplay was fun. It was fun to, slash shit and run around in these little predetermined maps and, you know, kill shit and, but it was short and it was sweet. It was almost like a snack, as crazy as that sounds. Like it was like a pretty good. After I finished it, uh I was like, yeah, there was a lot more to do, but I was like, I'm good. Not because I hated it, just because I felt like I was like, I think this is enough for this game. I paid a small fee for it. I forgot from where. I think it might have been like a website. Can I be more generic, right? A website. I paid it from the gaming website. So Outriders is also one. I enjoyed Outriders more than I enjoyed Godfall, to be honest with you, because it was, to me, it was like brainless shooting. Once again, I believe, like same thing with the day before. I believe that it's hard for me to get disappointed because I come into video games already with this preconceived notion of what it is. I'll do some research on it. I'll take what people say into consideration, but I don't let those opinions guide my judgment at the end of the day. So when I jump into a video game that's being critically panned or in under fire at the moment, I always keep all that in mind, right? But I still want to. I want to have my opinion on it, even if my opinion coincides and it is exactly like someone else's opinions with no like differing words or emotions. I still want to experience it myself. I don't know how many of you guys are out there that feel the same way I do, but that's genuinely how I feel. I need to experience it for myself. Hence, a big reason why I got the day before. Outriders was dope. I liked it. My biggest complaint, uh, honestly, I can't really remember one because it's been a while since I've played the game. But probably the storyline, because I remember the storyline being kind of convoluted, and also like it finished on a note where I was like, "Oh, it's done." You know what I mean? Like it wasn't tied up nicely. I remember that, but that's a small. Once again, since I've already came in thinking like, okay, this probably is not going to be the best shooter I ever played, but I was actually, I ended up liking the game a lot more than I thought because it exceeded my expectations. So the moral of the story is to always be disappointed before you jump into things, because then everything would just seem that much better. I'm joking. I don't know why I had to say that. Those are the only games I actually wrote here. So, but yeah, I mean, I think that so much drama with Mytona and Fantastic and the day before, so much drama could have been avoided if they just would have been more transparent with their fans. Like, if they would have just been like, hey, listen, we are eventually going to input, we're going to add in the MMO zombie survival aspect to this game, because you can't just slap. Well, actually, that's exactly what they did. What they did is they just slapped the thirst meter and the hunger meter to the day before and just say it's a survival game, right? So, like, technically, we're not lying. It is, but it ain't. It's really not. But whatever. Point is, if they would have been more transparent with their fan base, like, hey, we're eventually going to add MMO capabilities, we're eventually going to add bigger maps, more stores, more enemies, better optimization, less graphical glitches, better fucking dialogue and voice acting, then in that case, I feel like a lot of the blowback would have been, they would have done a lot of damage mitigation, right? I still think there would have been a high criticism of this game because obviously, what we got was a barely working demo. That's what it felt like, at least. So yeah, I don't think it would have got glowing reviews, but I don't think it would have got as much shit as it got now. Like it's pretty bad. I think it's like one of the top 10 most badly reviewed games in Steam which says a lot because there's a shitload of games on Steam. If you guys haven't noticed, just more transparency, man. You know, going like, look, at the moment, it's basically a PvP game at the moment. Yeah, there's some PvE elements, but we're still, we're still that one zombie has to make its rounds. You know what I mean? Since I don't know why I thought I would, I was led to believe that this game was going to have a lot more zombies, considering that like zombies is a gigantic theme of this game. And I know bullshit. I probably encountered like maybe three or four in my playthrough, and that combat was interesting because it was like one was running against a fence. He couldn't get past me. He couldn't get to me because like he could have just went around. But I was like, all right, you know what? Another I seen this in other zombie games. So the day before, and they're not unique in this matter. Zombies are pretty dumb, but whatever. And even after shooting them, I think it was the server issues because there was so many people playing that like the input, like their reactions were super delayed. You know, you'll shoot it and then like 3 seconds later it'll like react or whatever. So, um, a lot of characters gliding all over the map while they're kneeling, looking at their map. They're like literally just on one knee, gliding all across the street and shit like that. Stuff like that. But considering that you're talking to a Bethesda kid, right? I'm a self-proclaimed Bethesda fanboy. Bethesda is my favorite video game company. That's getting a little harder to say with the launch of Starfield because although Starfield is a good game, as a matter of fact, after I'm done recording this little session of mine, I'm gonna jump in and finish Starfield. I'm doing the story missions. After about over 200 hours of playing this, I'm like, I think it's time to give it a proper send off. But anyways, this game, it's to me personally, as of now, maybe if I mean, I think after 200 hours, I can say a good. I think I have a good grip of what this game is to me, and I think it's a solid seven. I really do. I really think it's a solid seven, and it's hard to say that about Starfield because it's coming. Look at the pedigree, right? Like it's coming from a company that is arguably the best video game company around. I know many of you are just foaming at the mouth hearing me say that. What about Capcom and fucking Fortnite? Uh, yeah. So I understand, but to me, as like I'm always gonna be a fanboy. You can't ask me shit about Bethesda, man. They can do no wrong in my eyes. No, I'm joking. That's a fucking lie. That's a goddamn lie. They've done wrong. Uh, you know what? There's Redfall. That's another game. Now I just gave you a whole list of games that I want to try. I haven't tried Redfall yet, but I will. I heard once again another game. That's another game that's been critically panned. No one enjoyed that. I'm gonna play it. I got to see what the big deal is. I might even just get a like 1 month subscription from Xbox Game Pass just to try it out and say fuck it, whatever. Starfield is it's kind of bland. I'm not gonna lie, it's my biggest problem with it. It's bland. It gets boring pretty quickly, and it's very PG, very sterilized. It's also, I think I said this before in one of my other videos. I said it's also a product of its time. And what I mean by Starfield being a product of its time, it's like, it's, checking off those weird boxes of like, oh, we need to have more minorities in this game. We need to have more, women in power. We need to have more. It's like this weird checklist of like everything is being viewed, everything in entertainment, from movies to video games to music. It's like being viewed through a lens of race and like sexuality, and that's a criticism of mine, of course, because I believe that because if you're scared to make fun of someone else's race, or you're scared to make fun of someone's sexual identity or something, like nothing is off the table. Like, you know be risque a little bit, like take some risks in your comedy, in your gameplay, have something go like holy shit. Like lots of memorable missions and lines from movies and video games are because it was so fucked up or so risque. You know what I mean? Like I'll give you an example. Like I'm not a Call of Duty guy, but I heard there's like a Call of Duty mission called No Russian. I may be fucking that up because I'm speaking out of my ass. I don't play Call of Duty. I don't know, but I think it's like one where they kill, I don't know. Man, I sound like such an old man, like a boomer. I think the American special ops of some sort kill a bunch of Russians, or it might be the opposite. A bunch of Russians kill a bunch of Americans. I don't know, but that was a very controversial mission for obvious reasons, right? You're like it's like genocide almost, like small scale genocide. But everyone remembers that mission and they love it, right? I had another one locked in my mind. I can't remember. But also, like those sexual arcs, I know they're still being done in games, like where you get to romanticize an NPC or a companion of yours in a game. You eventually get to fuck them or fuck her or fuck it, like an alien sometimes in some cases. Um, Shout out to Fisto from Fallout. It's not even a companion, it's just a robot that fixes you. I feel like Starfield suffers from this. It's a very it's a product of its time. Like it's very sanitized, very I don't know. Like I try not to get too much into because it's a very sensitive subject when it comes to race and this is coming from a minority himself. I've said this before. I'm a Latino guy, and I don't know. It's hard for me to live in a world where I feel like that is a point I have to make to people. Like I feel like that's just something. Like I feel like my judge of character should be first above anything. Like you should judge me as a person, the things that I do. The person am I a nice guy? Am I an asshole? Am I a smart guy? Those are the things I would like to get judged by. I don't want to get judged by my race or my sexual identity. I don't want to. That to me that comes later. That's down the bottom of the list for me as a Latino guy. I just want to be a good dude to people. And I want to be fair and honest. And I will need your vote because I'm running for president. It sucks that this is the fate of Mytona and Fantastic. I almost became one of those people that was just gonna let this game bake, just leave it in my library in the deepest, darkest corner of my library, and then maybe a year or two down the line, go, "Hey, look at all these updates for this game. Let me try it out again," which I've done. Actually, that's what I'm doing with Icarus now. Um, but no, they're going out of business, and I'm glad. It was almost like a sign, like, "Hey, man, get your money now because you might never get your money again once they go out of business." They said supposedly all the profits that they made, they ended up just giving back to their investors and shit. And I was like, "Whoops, that sucks." But here we are, man. Thanks for sitting around listening to my probably offensive and definitely barely coherent ramblings of a guy who likes video games and also other shit. Yeah. See you guys next time.